Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. I am Adam Williams.
And I'm Ashley Muckenhop.
And this is the radio show for the dreamers and doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena.
Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers.
We don't accept this... Sorry, I got so distracted. We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than we find it.
We approach each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain irrational optimism about the future.
This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, brought to you by me, Adam Williams. I'm so glad we don't pre-record that. But you know what happened? So Joel gives me this cue every morning. He puts his hand up, and then when it's time for me to go, he points at me, right? Well, when he puts his hand up, I inhale and hold my breath. And he did it early today. So I'm like, Joel, I'm turning blue over here. The prequel to the cue
You were losing
was too early, and I'm like, So now that I've recovered from passing out due to oxygen deficiency,
I wondered what happened.
That was the biggest fumble of the intro we've ever had. But it's Joel's fault.
That was great.
So
Joel, way to go.
Show number 52.
Adam almost dies.
Adam almost dies during the intro. All right, so show number 52, and I've screwed it up once.
Yeah.
Which is still only 2% of the time.
Yeah,
so
that's not bad.
I'll accept that.
I think
All right.
I've done it a couple times.
I'm sure you have. All right, so I'm pretty excited about today's topic because I find that I'd spend a lot of time preparing for this show, but I find that the more space I give myself to just think about it, the better the shows are. So usually, like if I'm on 75 hard and I go for a 45-minute
That's when
workout
you're thinking.
outdoors,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the show, right? Well, since Friday, I had basically 25 hours in my truck, half of which were alone. So
there's nothing left to do but think.
yeah, I'm pretty excited about today's show, and it's funny because all right, let me give a little bit of an intro.
Yep.
And then we'll do our normal intro.
Okay.
So I've been out and about a lot recently.
Yes.
Like interacting with a lot of people, going to a lot of events, and I've really been trying to categorize where people are in their businesses because I'm finding that I'm meeting people at opposite ends of the spectrum and
All in
everywhere
different
in between,
places.
right?
Yep.
So you have somebody who's maybe just getting started or they've been at this for a little while and it's almost like a side hustle business for them. To the other end of the spectrum, we're talking to people that run $20 million businesses.
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out, or I'm trying to get organized in my head what the difference is between those two ends of the spectrum. And there's actually a middle ground there too.
Yeah.
But I've created 3 buckets. And in bucket number 1, you've got your business that's basically a hobby.
Yes.
Right. It's the person who's turned their passion into something or something they really enjoy doing, but it's sort of a hobby. And then there's another bucket where you've basically created a job for yourself.
Because you're doing all the work.
You're doing all the work, yeah. And that can be okay. But what I found is there are a lot of people in that bucket who they're like, something's wrong, something's off. This is not what I signed up for.
They're the stuck ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because they don't realize that there's this third category of your business can work for you.
Yeah.
Right. And you become a true business owner.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about those categories, and during all of my time in the car, I came up with a list of like what separates one from the other. And we have 14 things on that list. And I didn't
I know
realize
you said number these, and I was like,
Yes.
I kept numbering and number. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So as I was driving yesterday, and I was running through this list, and then you typed it out for me, and then I was like, oh, there's 14 things on there, so we gotta get through these quickly, or maybe bring it back for another show. But before we get into all of that, as always, we are streaming live, blowing your minds every Wednesday at 9, going live at 9:05 on Facebook. Find us at Maverick Mindset
Didn't
Radio.
mess that up.
We're also, I didn't. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I messed it up last week. Yes. We're also on Instagram at Maverick Mindset Radio. And of course, you can find us, all the episodes, on Spotify and the iTunes podcast thing store. I don't even know.
What's the official name for
Apple
that?
Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts. Okay.
Yeah, they should do a better job of branding that. Come on. Do better, Apple. And then, of course, we got the episodes up on YouTube and MaverickMindsetRadio.com, where you can always find more information, including our merch, which you can get for 10% off using the code Maverick10. So today, what's our topic?
So it's turning your passion into a profit. It's a business, not a hobby.
Okay, business versus hobby. I
Yes.
like that, and that kind of works with my buckets that I created.
I think it does. Yeah.
All right. So what's the quote that you found?
So the quote of the day is, and this lined up with the topics. So I was like, oh, perfect.
Yep.
A hobby costs you money. A business earns it. The difference lies in your mindset. And I liked this quote because I think a lot of people, when they're starting it, they take something they love that they're passionate about, and they're like, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to make money off of this. And they believe, and we talked about this yesterday, that because they love it so much that that's all that it's going to take.
Yeah.
And then they can't figure out why they're not successful at it. And it's because that mindset switch from this is something I love to I have to create a structure. There has to be a strategy. I have to put the work behind it. And I have to know what to charge, what I'm worth, which is a whole mindset mess anyways, because most people have a problem determining what they're worth. So they don't know the value of what to charge for their business.
Yeah. I think the advice of like, follow your passion and you'll never work a day in your life is
False.
The worst advice imaginable. It's a great way to ruin a passion.
Yeah.
It's a great way to take something that you enjoy and just make it miserable. And because there's more to not just success, but survival in business. There's more to survival in business than just loving what you do.
Yeah.
Does that make it easier? Yeah, sure. And should you start a business that'll be successful when it's something that you hate? Well, no, that's not a great recipe either. But there's more to it than just being passionate about the thing that you're doing. And in fact, if you're passionate about the thing that you're doing, maybe just keep doing that as a hobby.
Yeah.
And not turn it into your livelihood.
Yeah.
Because it completely transforms that relationship. So
do you think people they have a hobby that's something great, and then everybody tells them it's so great, and then, but if you're not I wonder this sometimes, if you don't come from a business mindset and you're not a true entrepreneur, like, aren't you really just kind of setting yourself up for failure? Like, to just say, oh, great, everybody told me I was great at this, I love it, I'm going to go ahead and turn it into a business. And really, you have no idea what you're doing. And you don't even have that. I mean, because I don't think everybody's an entrepreneur.
No.
I don't think that's something
And your friends have no idea what's best for you.
Yeah.
Because they're either going to tell you not to start a business because they think it's risky and here's all the things that are going to go wrong. Or they're going to tell you, yes, go and start this business, but they're not actually customers.
Yeah.
Customers are the ones that are going to determine your success. But if you like clothes and all of your friends are like, oh my God, you should start a clothing store, but they're not going to buy clothes from you, that's horrible advice. That's horrible advice. So yeah, just because you love something doesn't mean you should turn it into a business. And I think too many people get that wrong. I think too many people believe really in a Fantasyland unicorn Santa Claus way that, oh yes, I have to always I have to love that the thing that I do always. And when I love the thing that I do always, then it can turn into business success. And that's not it. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about today. Yeah. We're talking about 14 things. Yeah.
And we're not trying to crush anyone's dreams. We're just saying.
No, I'm trying to teach you reality. And here's something that we didn't even talk about. You know, especially for the new business or the person launching the side hustle, or maybe this is someone in an established business that I'm about to blow your mind because you never bothered to think about this. Think about the person that has a decent job. Mm-hmm. They make $60,000 a year, and they have benefits and health insurance and stuff like that, right? I was actually listening to a podcast yesterday where the guy said this, and I wanted to call in and be like, no, idiot, stop it. Here's the problem. This guy on this podcast was saying, oh, all you've got to do, if your customer pays you $500, he did like some window cleaning or something.
Okay.
Right? If your customer pays you $500 and you make $60,000 a year, that's $5,000 a month. So you only need 10 clients a month to make $5,000 to make $60,000 a year. No,
I don't think that's right.
Because if you've got a job making $60,000 a year, let's start with your employer pays employment tax
Yep.
for you. So that we're going to tack a couple of percentage on there.
Yep.
Not a big deal, right? And then if you've got benefits, your health insurance is going to be $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month. I don't know. I don't know what your coverage is, but you better find out if you're going to go and take this plunge, because I guarantee you it's more than you're ready for.
Yes.
And then you're going to have expenses, of course, that go along with your business, right? So,
well, because you got to do all the things.
yeah. So you may find out that once you add in just what it costs for you to be an employee, that $60,000 job may become a $75,000 or $80,000 cost. Could be even more than that, depending on what your benefits are.
So now you have to make up the cost and make a profit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And most people don't even bother to do that math. They just say, well, if I can make $5,000 a month,
I'm fine.
but you're not.
Yeah.
Because that would actually be a step down in your standard of living. And that's the part that really bothers me. One of the things that bothers me about this is people have this vision of like, oh, it's so easy to go and start my own business. Look at what my boss is paying me now.
Yeah.
I could go out and get those customers and do this work without any real picture of
Without any plan.
Without a plan.
Structure.
Which we're gonna get into. So, all right. The other thing that's really been on my mind, and I'm not sure it has much to do with this show, but it's just been bothering me.
So you got to get it out.
I'm sick of bad customer service.
Yeah.
I'm sick of
everywhere.
it. I can't tell you how many like gas stations and restaurants I stopped at road tripping over the weekend where like the person behind the counter is more interested in carrying on a conversation with their coworkers than in greeting me. Not even like helping me out, not asking if I need anything, but just saying hello. And
Yeah.
like they're going to talk about whatever they're talking about with their coworkers instead of acknowledging the fact that I exist.
Yeah.
Except guess what? Without me as your customer, you don't have a job, you don't have coworkers, and whatever crap you're talking about, you don't get to do anymore because you don't have any income.
Yep.
So I'm frankly like sick of people, and this is actually a distinction, and something that I want to get on our list here. People that expect to get a paycheck just by virtue of showing up. That's not how it works in business. In business, you must execute and you must deliver and you must get things done in order to earn money.
Yeah.
You don't, in a business, show up and get paid for showing up.
Just, here I am.
Plenty of people do get paid for
Yeah.
showing up and just being a warm body, right?
Yeah.
And those businesses are headed in a certain direction.
Yep.
To be a successful business owner, you need to understand what it is that actually drives value for your business and what actually brings more money in or allows you to keep more money. And you need to go and do more of that stuff.
Yeah.
I know that there's retail businesses out there that listen to our show that they think by virtue of unlocking the door and turning on the lights and standing behind the counter,
The people will come.
they should start making money.
What's that movie? If you build it, they will come.
Field of Dreams.
Doesn't really work that way.
No, maybe
That's why it's a field of
if
dreams.
it's a field of dreams. Yeah, it's Fantasyland. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I here's the thing that I was trying to tie this together in my head is like, if your job, if you don't understand how your job adds value, and if you think just by virtue of showing up you should get paid, you will be replaced by AI and technology.
Yeah.
You see it already. I can go in. I brought our RV back from Myrtle Beach.
Yep.
So I stayed in Virginia 2 nights ago, not last night. And I booked my campsite, and I got there at 7 o'clock at night, and I set up my RV, and I left the next morning. I didn't interact with a single human being.
Wow.
I can go to the gas station and fill up my truck, which I have to do 17 times
You
when
don't
I'm
have to
towing
talk
the
to
RV.
anyone.
I don't have to interact with a single person.
Nope.
I can go in and actually order a meal from a touchscreen, and I don't need to interact with a single person.
Yep.
Do I prefer that? No. I prefer human interaction because I'm a human being and I actually like that stuff in my life. I hate
Well, I
self-checkout.
think people need that. I think the lack of it is why you see. I was going to swear.
But
why you see the horrible personalities of people in customer service, and there's no sense of interacting and having.
I wish it were easier to demonstrate good service for employees.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured that out yet. Could I fly everyone down to Naples and put you up in the Ritz-Carlton and allow you to experience what good service is really like. You know, now that I say that out loud, man, that would be worth it.
Hey, I'm for it.
No, not you. I said you, like everybody else that works for me, not you.
I know.
But that's, I mean, it's really hard to think of businesses, especially locally, that are really good at customer service. I feel like most of the places I'm going into, it's a warm body.
Yeah. There's some places, like you said, like we were in Savannah last week.
Yeah.
Just
I don't even remember it. Yeah.
I know. It was such a, but checking into the hotel, like the service, there was somebody coming up to get our bags and so pleasant when they were checking us in. And do you need this? And do you want that?
And handing you a glass of Prosecco.
Yes. But just answering our questions, right? Because Christy and I are like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And they were so patient. And it was like, they wouldn't have been any other way. I couldn't imagine of walking into that hotel and them being jerks. It didn't seem like that was the atmosphere or the place and maybe that's it. Maybe it's the environment. Maybe it's the place. And if your environment sucks,
it's the environment,
people are going to suck.
It's the training. It's also recruiting. I mean, it's really hard to train people to be great at service if they're not naturally inclined to that.
Yeah.
So that was when I came back, or when I left LA a few weeks ago. I feel like I've been on the road for a month and a half.
Yeah.
When I left LA a while ago, and I got that PS service, which is not like the normal terminal, but you go to a separate terminal.
It's the special.
I can't remember if we talked about this.
Yeah, we did.
But it's like the private lounge, and then they literally drive you in a BMW out to your
you get
plane
hot
to board the plane.
cookies.
Yeah. And every person there that I interacted with, I was like, "What did you do before this? Because you're so good at this."
Yeah.
And they all worked in hospitality, and I think, man, if you're looking to really accelerate your career, your business, your life, get really good at hospitality.
Yes.
Like go and experience it either as a customer or as an employee, because that's what's going to separate you.
That's how you made your money, right? If you were in hospitality or you were a server, you made your money by how well your service was at that table. So you could tell pretty quickly if you sucked at your job and you had to figure out ways to get better.
That's a great example.
And it's like,
that's what I was saying. Like, that's not just showing up. That's understanding in your business what actually drives value and what adds value and what creates money for you. And it turns out if you're in the hospitality business, it's good hospitality that makes you more money as a server.
Yeah.
Most business owners aren't spending enough time thinking about that. Okay, let's get into our 14 points. We don't have any time. Okay, number 1, business versus hobby.
Wow.
Amateur versus professional. 3 cop cars going by. Must be something exciting happening out there. Yo, it is 9:00 on a Wednesday. What are you guys doing out there?
What has happened?
People in Erie, chill out. Should be listening to this show anyway. All right. So, point number 1. I believe that businesses have an obligation to market themselves.
Yes.
And attract the results of that marketing. I think that just by opening the doors and turning on the sign and the lights and standing behind the counter, that's not enough. And in fact, if your business is any good, shame on you for not marketing.
Yeah.
Shame on you. If you're actually good at what you do, at what you sell, at what you provide, and you don't bother to promote that fact, I feel really bad for the customers and clients and patients that are going to other businesses.
Why do you think people don't do it?
They don't understand the necessity. They don't think it's they think if I build it, they'll come. No, they won't, because they don't know who you are. They've never heard of you.
Yeah.
I was driving the kids to school this morning, and Penny read the name of a restaurant on a billboard, and I was like, I've seen that billboard, but never connected the dots that it's like an actual place that exists.
Oh.
And then I was also thinking, I've also never heard anybody talk about going there. Like, I've never heard this restaurant that's been around for 20 years, probably more.
Oh, wow.
I was like, wow, I've never heard of anybody talking about going to that restaurant. Now, good for them. They're advertising, and now Penny will probably want to go there. But that was an
but not
interesting
hearing
one.
of it when you know it's been around.
Like, yeah, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what you do. And if you're any good, you need to be out promoting that.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean you just go out and take out a radio ad or a TV ad or a billboard or paint your face on a sign.
A bench.
A bench, yeah. You knew where I was going with that.
I did.
You need to understand where your customers or potential customers actually are and get in front of them so you can do it at a lower cost. but it could be a matter of going into a neighborhood and knocking on doors.
Yeah.
Right? Like that doesn't cost anything other than your time. And if you're just new and starting out, that can be a really good way to get things going there. But I think if you're going to have a business and it is going to be your livelihood and your mortgage payment and your kids' futures and education or even Sunday night's dinner are going to depend on your business being successful, you have an obligation to market and advertise. So we were in Myrtle Beach over the weekend. Mm-hmm. Great Easter weekend in Myrtle Beach.
Is the weather nice there now?
It was really nice. It was 70s, sunny.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yep. It gets a little colder during the winter, but it was officially nice. And there was a ton of stuff going on at the campground where we leave the RV for the winter. So they had activities like back to back to back all day.
Who, I got to ask, and no one's going to know what I'm talking about, who won the slide in the chair?
Penny.
Penny did?
Yeah. All right. So this is some internet thing where it's last to leave the blank, right? So that, Mr. Beast will put last person to leave this airplane wins the airplane. So Penny decided we were going to play last to leave the slide.
Yes.
So she went up and sat in a slide and I sat in a plastic chair.
Yeah.
And it was a good 45 minutes. Dang. And she was like, she had toys and dolls and stuff she was playing with. And I was just messing around on my phone. And, she's like, yeah, last to leave the slide wins. And I don't even remember. We negotiated some prize. I think it was who got to pick the next day's activity. And I'm like, I'm gonna crush her.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a plastic chair and I can take it anywhere. Yeah. So I posted this online. I was like, if you see me in the next 6 to 12 months attached to a plastic chair, it's because I'm still competing in this game with Penny. So what happened was, actually, this is going to segue into the story I wanted to tell. There was a magician.
Oh, nice.
Playing at 8 o'clock. So we had to get over to the pavilion to see this magician perform. So I'm like, hey, Penny, we got to go see the magician. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm in a chair and I can take this chair with me, which means I win. Or we can pause the game and reconvene. She's like, let's pause it. I said, okay. So I said, slide down to the bottom of the slide. So she slid to the bottom of the slide, still not touching the ground. And I grabbed the arms of the chair and I said, all right, on the count of 3, we're both going to stand up and we're going to pause the game. 1, 2, 3, and I stood up, and she said, didn't. I was just kidding. So
smart girl, Penny.
Yeah, she's grounded for life. All right, so we go see this magician, and it was really interesting because these kids in this audience were wild. Like, they were talking, they were just really rude and disrespectful. Oh, no. But he was pretty good
at dealing with it.
And it was clear that he's experienced because he didn't let it throw him off, right? So he's got the trick where he like tears up a piece of tissue paper and then magically puts it back together. Yeah. Or he's got these tiny little foam balls that just keep multiplying. He called them cooties. It was really, really cute. And he kept getting volunteers up to do things. And, the kids don't understand the funny part because they can't see what he's doing on the other side. So we get through this thing. It's probably, 45 minutes, decent show. And my kids are entertained and well-behaved. And towards the end of the show, he said, "Bye." And I'm just sitting there thinking, none of these tricks look super hard, right?
Right. They're like your basic.
He's not making a lion disappear, right? He's doing card tricks and, And I'm thinking, man, it'd be cool to learn to do some of these tricks. I think this would be really entertaining. And then the magician goes, by the way, my wife is over there at the table and we've got magic kits and magic wands for sale.
So the kits teach you how to do
half the tricks that he just did, plus some other ones. Yeah, so you get the magic wand, you get the tissue paper that you can tear up and magically put back together. You get the little foam balls that multiply.
Who doesn't want to be a magician as a child?
I'm a 42-year-old man and I want to be a magician. But it was great, right? So he got paid to be there and entertain.
And then was going to market.
And then said, by the way, I know you're all sitting there wanting to learn how to do magic tricks, and I'm here to provide that for you. And I don't think there was a single person in that audience who was mad about the fact that he was doing that.
No.
In fact, it was really cool because you could buy a magic wand for $5 and you could buy the magic kit for $40. There was no bulk discount. Like you didn't. So you want to go and only spend $5? Great, you get a magic wand and you can do some tricks. But you want to so he had 2 price points, which I thought was brilliant too. But the point is, I think there's a lot of people who get really worked up about putting themselves out there and doing advertising and doing sales. But there are people out there who want what you want and will be so grateful that you're actually providing that.
Yeah.
Right. I need my windows cleaned at my house. I wish there was a window cleaner that would put a door hanger on my door. I need my carpets cleaned. Although I get Valpak, I guess there's plenty of advertising for that. But like I don't want to go searching for this. It's gonna take just come to me, put yourself in front of me and make it easy for me to give you my money in exchange for the service that you provide. And I think that's the difference is businesses
are waiting for the people to come instead of going to the people.
Hobbies. Hobbies are waiting for customers to show up. A successful business, an actual business, will go
target
and put themselves
the
out
customers.
there. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So that's one.
We're only on one.
I'll talk faster.
We have 13 more to go.
I have a lot to say about that one. All right. Number 2. Businesses have an obligation to generate a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you don't generate a profit, it's just a hobby. That was your quote of the day, right?
Yep.
I've got plenty of hobbies that lose me plenty of money.
Yes.
But the business, this is the difference between having a business and having a crappy job, is there's plenty of people who go out and they're self-employed and they create a job for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great. But that's what I was saying at the beginning of the show. You need to make a lot more money than you think just to maintain your standard of living if you have a job right now.
Yes.
So if you create a job for yourself, that's great. If it's a job that you actually want.
Yeah. Do you want to be doing all the work?
Versus most people who are self-employed have created really crappy jobs for themselves doing a whole bunch of stuff that they don't enjoy and that they're not very good at.
Yeah.
That next level is understanding that you can have a business that works for you and that generates a profit for you simply as the owner of the business. Now, if I leave this studio today and I go back to our office and I decide to do tasks in that office that I would pay somebody $20 an hour to do, it's fine if I consciously and intentionally make the decision to do that.
Yeah.
Most business owners don't.
They have to do it.
They just think, I have to do this. I have to get this done. Fortunately, I'm in a position in our business where I can do things that at least generate $500 an hour for the business, right? And fortunately for everybody else there that wants to continue receiving a paycheck, I'm aware of that fact and I spend plenty of time doing those things.
Yeah.
But also, yesterday, I didn't work yesterday. I was driving back with the RV. The business still made money. This business still generated a profit for me as the owner. If Jeff Bezos doesn't show up to work tomorrow as the owner of Amazon or one of the owners of Amazon, he still gets income from that.
And there's a lot of businesses that if you don't show up as the owner, nothing's happening that day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's just gaining an awareness of the difference between being self-employed and having a small business. Self-employed, you've created a job for yourself. Having a small business, the business works for you and not the other way around. You're not a prisoner to your business. Your business is your mule that actually works for you. And frankly,
that's why you hate that line. My business is my baby.
It's one of the reasons that I hate that. It's not your baby because you do anything for your baby and you'd be completely irrational about it. But if it's your mule, you understand the relationship that it works for you. Okay. You know what? Maybe we only have 13 because I want to skip this next one.
Okay.
All right. Number 3. I gotta renumber this whole list now because I'm taking that one out of there. There was a story that I was going to tell that I'm not going to. All right. Number 3. Businesses, successful businesses, look at numbers and metrics and money. Mm-hmm. There's a book called The CEO Only Does 3 Things, or CEO Does 3 Things, and it's people, numbers, and culture. Like that's what a CEO should be focused on.
Yeah.
And I think as a business owner, if you're not spending any time looking at your numbers, you have a hobby because you're probably not making any money. You're probably not profitable if you really dove in and looked at this. And it's not just the profit and loss. It's not just the revenue that you bring in and the expenses that you have. It's your other metrics that actually matter. It's the leads that you generate. It's the cost of your advertising. It's managing the number of software subscriptions that you have to make sure that not all of the money is getting flushed down the toilet on those things. But looking at the numbers in your business is the difference between a hobby and being self-employed and probably broke and miserable and having a small business that actually works for you.
Most people hide from their numbers or say, I don't know. Why?
That's the easy answer. It's the easy answer to say, well, I don't know them, so I'm not going to bother to learn. Fine, you're completely limiting your growth.
Yeah.
That's like saying, I want to get really healthy, but I'm not going to eat any vegetables.
Yeah.
And there's carnivore diet people out there that are like, oh, yeah, I don't eat vegetables. Okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying. I want to get healthy, but I'm only going to eat bread, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's an excuse. I think it's a convenient excuse because it can keep you small and keep you broke and keep you complaining about things rather than facing the fact that, oh my gosh, my business is not making money.
Yeah,
I'm not profitable. Stepping on the scale. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So successful businesses look at numbers and metrics and money, and not by accident, right?
Yeah.
They actually put the time on their calendar to review these things and understand them. We know in our business what knobs we can turn up and down to make more money or make more investments in the business or grow faster or grow slower or squeeze more profit out of what we already have coming in. We understand how that stuff works, and most people don't even bother.
Yep.
They don't know how much revenue they generate, which is a starting point. Like, how much money do you even bring in as your business? They don't even know that.
I don't know how many times I'm on calls that I hear people like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I actually don't know.
I'm waiting for my accountant to tell me. Your accountant's not going to tell you.
Yep.
The only thing your accountant's going to tell you is whether you owe the IRS or not.
Which you're paying back out.
Yeah. And you probably, if you aren't looking at your numbers, you're not even going to have the money to pay that.
Yep.
So yes, it's setting aside. I would set aside, if I was just starting out, I would set aside at least one day a month to sit and look at numbers and metrics and money. And if you don't know it, if you don't understand it, if you're not good at it, just set the day aside and do it.
Yeah.
And you will slowly start to figure it out.
Yep.
This is actually going to relate to my next point. But I would start with that. So let's assume that you're like a typical 9 to 5, Monday to Friday type of business.
Mm-hmm.
You have 20 working days every month. If you can take one day to look at your numbers and metrics and money, that's only 1 out of 20 days. That's 5% of your time that you're committing to looking at that stuff. If you can't commit to at least 5% of your time, you're not a real business owner.
Yeah, there's something wrong.
Now, let's next level this. Tip number 4. I need you to go in and fix all this.
I know. I am so...
Tip number 4, which is number 5 on my sheet. But tip number 4 is businesses hire experts. So if you're not good at numbers and metrics and money and math and all of that stuff, hire somebody who is. And this can be a full-time employee. It can be a contractor. It can be a freelancer. There are people out there who are better than you at everything in your business, and successful businesses go out and hire those people to do that stuff. I'm just watching you work on this number. This is all over the place.
I know. Don't keep talking.
I was talking about hiring experts as I watch you destroy this sheet that we put together.
What has happened to the...
But that's it.
Okay.
Successful businesses aren't afraid to hire experts to do things for them. They understand that they can get places faster and often cheaper by hiring an expert versus trying to figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning this lesson. You know me, I love to delegate because I understand the value of it. But there are also other things in this business that I still need to get this e-commerce website built, and I got to get a couple accounts linked to do that. And here I am for a year now, probably trying to wrap this thing up versus just giving it to somebody else to get it done and having it finished. Yep. Yeah. But the more I've been willing to hire people that are better than me, the more I've been willing to hire people, again, not even hire as in full-time employee, but maybe just transact with people who have been where I'm trying to go, the easier it is to remove that ceiling on our growth and on our success. So don't think that you have to do it all on your own. In fact, understand that by thinking you have to do it all on your own, you're limiting your growth.
Yes.
You're putting a cap on success.
Did I do this right? Are we on number 4?
Are we on number 4 now?
Yes.
Gosh, I hope so. Number 4, number 5. No, we're on number 4. Okay. Successful businesses have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, successful businesses have multiple plans.
Yes.
They have a business plan. They have a marketing plan. They may have a hiring plan if they're the type of business that's going to hire people. They have a budget, and they have a tax plan. So again, I'm back to where are you spending your time as the business owner? If we look at your business plan, in our business, we are high growth by design. That requires me and Jackie, me, to sit down quarterly and look at our business plan and review how things went and adjust the plan going forward. If your business isn't doubling, tripling, quadrupling, 10xing every year, you don't need to do it that often. You may only need to do it once a year. But that's literally 4 or 5 days a year that we are working on our business plan.
Yeah.
Well, if you've got 20 days in a month and 12 months in a year. You've got 240 business days in a year. If you're telling me you can't take 4 of those days, we do 5 because once a year we do a 2-day event versus a 1-day event to do this planning. You can't take 5 of those days and write a plan for your business of how much money you want to make and how you want to make that money and the products or services that you want to have and how you're going to market those services and how you're going to deliver it and what physical structure or office building you may need or what technology you may need or what software you can't do that once a year. So maybe it's a time issue and you got to take that time, or maybe it's a knowledge issue, in which case just reach out to me because I love helping people with this and I'm really, really good at it. But having that business plan, again, we look at it quarterly because things change so rapidly in our business. Going through that exercise, not just having the business plan, but going through the exercise of creating a business plan makes you a better business owner. So Eisenhower talked about it. He said, the value, I found that when going into battle, the value is not in having a plan. The value is in having gone through the planning, right? And thinking through the possibilities and the outcomes and the things that may have to change. So having a business plan, where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Second one is a marketing plan of like, how are you going to bring in the customers to bring you in the business to do what you want to do? If you're a business that's hiring, and again, it may be full-time employees, maybe part-time employees, maybe contractors, freelancers, but who is going to help you get where you want to get? You don't do it alone. Even if you're like true solo, hang your shingle type of business owner, you still work with others. Vendors and service providers and things like that. So who is going to be in your hiring plan and when do you need to bring these people in to assist you with these things? Then you've got your budget. Again, this aligns to your business. How much money can you spend on marketing, for example, to bring in the revenue that you need? Well, without a budget,
you don't know.
You don't know, and you're either going to grossly overspend or grossly underspend without tracking the results on that. So having a budget, or how much will that next employee cost you? Or when you bring in your virtual assistant, we had Brett Tremblay on the show and we talked about hiring virtual assistants. That's a great first hire. When you bring that person in, how are you going to cash flow that? And how is that going to help you grow your business so that you can make more money than you're paying that person? That comes into your budget. And then of course your tax plan. If all of this other stuff works and you're profitable, you're going to owe taxes. And if you're not careful, that can quickly become your biggest or second biggest expense that you have in your business. So it's important to have a plan for that. Okay.
I finally got these on track.
It looks great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I could see like the panic in your eyes as you were changing all of that.
When I get put on the spot with numbers, just don't know what happens.
What's funny is I want to combine the next two, so we need to renumber the whole list.
Oh my God.
Okay, so successful businesses have a plan, a business plan, a marketing plan, a hiring plan, a budget, and a tax plan. Number 6, businesses adapt and change and grow.
I think this is where people get stuck. This is your stuck spot because people don't want to do that. We
get really comfortable doing it the way that we've always done it. Blockbuster was really good at putting a whole bunch of VHS tapes and DVDs on a wall and charging you late fees when you didn't bring them back on time. They didn't adapt or change.
They didn't. And then when Netflix and all that came into play, Blockbuster went bye-bye.
Exactly. Yes. As free advice to any accountants out there, as our country continues to get more bloated with its spending, we will continue to tax people, particularly business owners. And if you are an accountant who's not worried about proactively managing your client's tax bill, well, there are other businesses out there that do that, and you will lose those customers, right? You can't continue to be in the business of working in the first quarter of the year to get your tax filings done for your clients and having them pay their bills and then taking the next month off. That's not what your clients are looking for. You have to adapt and change and grow. So I think that unsuccessful businesses tend to get stuck in the ways that they've always done things. And they say, well, this is how it's worked before. This is what worked before, so we're going to keep doing it. And you may be right that it worked, and it worked really, really well, and you think that you don't need to change, but the problem is the entire world is changing around you, and that's not going to work anymore. We're seeing this with Facebook ads, Facebook ads that we were running for a period of time and worked really well. We've had to change, and there's still plenty of people out there that need the services that we're offering.
But the services are becoming, here's the thing, it's becoming more of a competitive market. So just doing ads and being the one out there with the ads, now everybody's seeing ads. So it's not working more. So you have to try a different way.
Well, and plus, there's a lot of economic uncertainty right now.
Yeah.
That was beyond our control. So when we're talking about tariffs and they're going higher and they're going lower, and we're talking about the intro to our show on local FM radio, there was a brief segment on gas prices right now, and is Trump going to fire the Fed chairman? 48 hours ago, he was going to. 24 hours ago, he said, no, absolutely not. Like, there's a lot of stuff beyond our control that's happening, and we need to adapt to that just to understand what our clients and potential clients are thinking about.
Yeah.
So you have to adapt and change and grow. And I think it's easier to do this if you understand that everything in business is an experiment. It's a lot easier to adapt and change and grow.
Because then you can accept that an experience
That
fails sometimes, and it changes.
No, experiments are always successful. That's how experiments work.
Yeah.
I have a hypothesis. I test that hypothesis.
And either works or
and the
doesn't.
hypothesis was correct or incorrect.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it's correct or incorrect, if I followed that process, my experiment was successful.
True.
But too many people in business get married to, well, I made this decision and that is the
That's
decision, and
yeah.
I don't want it to be perceived as wrong. Well, good luck with that. I hope your landlord is a very patient person when you can't pay your rent. Okay, number 7, and I think it's related to that. Successful businesses never stop learning and educating in order to grow. The most successful business owners I know are constantly investing in themselves, in their education. And listen, it could be a $25,000 mastermind. It could be a $15 book on Amazon.
Yep.
For example, Everything Your Kids Wish You Knew About
There you go.
Owning a Business by Adam Williams, Amazon bestselling author. So it doesn't need to be massive investments and huge commitments. It could just be, what's the next book that I'm going to read?
Yeah.
Right. And if it's always fiction and crap and Netflix, man, I watched the documentary about the Oklahoma City bombing. I'm super sad now. I forgot how many kids died in that.
Gosh, how
But-
many years ago was that now?
That was early 90s. Was that 93, I think?
Yeah.
So yeah, we were pretty young.
Yeah.
But Timothy McVeigh was executed in 2001, which is right after I graduated high school. So
same.
I remember that more than I remember the bombing. All right. So businesses never stop learning and educating and getting better and investing in themselves. Really important. Okay. Oh, this was good. I need to turn some of these into like memes that I can share on social media. Successful businesses run on systems and discipline, not just motivation. So I remember, I don't know what we live in now, our 4th or 5th or 6th house, but I've noticed that every time I move into a new house, I'm really fired up to tackle a whole bunch of projects. And I remember the first house we moved into, my dad was like, great, get them all done now because you're going to lose that motivation.
Yep.
And I was like, no, I'm always going to want to fix stuff and improve it. And no, he was right. You get into a new place, and after a couple months, you make it good enough, and you say, all right, eventually I'll get around to the rest of this stuff. The same is true in your business. If you're always looking for motivation, you won't always have it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just wake up in a bad mood. Sometimes the Oklahoma City bombing documentary made you really sad. Sometimes a client or a customer is a jerk to you and you just need time to recover from it. Sometimes, I don't know, you're tired or you were traveling or whatever.
Yeah.
You're not always going to be, sometimes you're going to lose the vision and you're going to lose the desire to achieve what you want to achieve. So if your business relies on motivation and inspiration, it comes and goes, and it's really hard to maintain that. Versus a business that runs on systems and a business that runs on discipline. So even if I'm not motivated to work out every single day, I have a system and I'm disciplined
to do it,
to work out every single day. And there's a difference there, right? If I relied on the motivation, and part of it is the system that I have, working out's a great example. The system that I have for working out used to involve me waking up, and if it was cold out, putting on workout clothes, but also like additional layers of clothes, and driving to the gym really early in the morning, and going and working out and listening to all these other people screaming and jumping around and doing crazy things at 5:30 in the morning, and then driving home. But like by the time I get home, I'm sore because I did a really hard workout, and then I just sat in my car for 20 minutes. Versus now, I wake up and I go down in my basement and I work out.
Yeah.
Right. I've got the gym set up down there. That is a system that I have to remove that friction.
The inconvenience that was there before.
And I'm disciplined. I've created that habit, and I do it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? That is a lot easier to create success than just waiting until you're motivated, because you're not always going to be motivated. So the things that happen in your business over and over and over again run on some sort of system, whether it's documented or not. And I think we actually did a show on that, but just creating those checklists and templates and your SOPs, right? And it's a lot easier to grow that way too, because if you've got your procedures documented, then you can delegate and have someone else follow those procedures. We did this when we checked out of the RV park. We left a couple weeks early. We were supposed to stay till May 1st. I booked it for 6 months or whatever, 7 months. So we left, I don't know, a week or two early, week and a half early. So as we're pulling out, I walked into the front area and I'm like, hey, we're leaving a couple days early. Can we, are we eligible for any money back? And the woman opened up her binder and she flipped to that page and said, oh, you were here 181 days and the rate that you got was so discounted that if we changed it to the different number of days that you should have stayed or would have stayed, then the rate would go up and you would actually you would owe us money. Yeah. And it was like, okay, that was perfect.
That's all you needed to know.
That was all I needed to know. And she had it right there in a binder in front of her. And she didn't need to ask her manager and she didn't need to get the owner involved. Like, that was a question that they've gotten enough times that they've scripted an answer to that. That is a business that runs on a system. All right, good one. Oh, this was another good one too.
Oh, yeah.
Number 9, hobby versus business, amateur versus professional, self-employed and miserable versus business owner and happy. Business owners engage in difficult conversations. In fact, successful business owners seek out difficult conversations. I think this involves accountability and feedback for employees, customers, and vendors, right?
Yeah.
Giving that constructive feedback, positive or negative, right?
Yeah.
But particularly the negative, it's a lot easier to hide out from that and sweep it under the rug versus having a direct conversation of saying, I expected X and you are providing X minus 2. What's it going to take to get you back up to X? Right? Those are difficult conversations to have. And I think a lot of business owners avoid them. If you're not happy with something that your landlord is doing, if you're not happy with something that a vendor is doing.
Yeah, you say something.
You have to say something. But it's hard to do that because what if they don't like you? What if they think you're a jerk? What if they think you're mean? So in a hobby, it's fine to do things and not have difficult conversations. But in a successful business, I think it's necessary.
You have to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually, I found a little more positive spin on this too, is I'm maintaining my average where about 50% of the people that I interview for employment in our business end up in tears during the interview. Yes. And you laugh at that.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's super important.
Yes.
Because I make sure that they understand what they want. I make sure that they understand what their goals are, and I dig into why those goals are important to them. As the business owner,
you need to know.
I need to know because it's my job to create a vision big enough that your vision can fit within it.
Yep.
And if you're not clear on what your vision and what your goals are, well, then I can't help you. And if you do a good job of having that conversation, people get emotional. As they should. It's an emotional thing. So that's not an easy conversation to have. I don't enjoy having those conversations because it is challenging for that person, but I also do get a lot out of it because I know that even if we don't hire these people, the fact that they've now gone through this exercise of understanding what it is that they actually want is super impactful for them.
Well, and it probably provides them this more of a strength to go into the next one because now they know more of what they want, so they can use that.
Or maybe they decide they're perfectly happy where they are right now.
This is true too.
Or what I've also been finding is happening is people do understand what their goals are and they get really clear on that and they get an emotional attachment to it, but then they think it's going to be easy to get there and they don't want to put in the work. But that's a story for another day. Actually, no. Let's skip ahead. Because that relates to point number 11, even though we just finished up point number 9. Business owners, you aren't entitled to anything until you earn it. And I don't just mean money and I don't just mean income. I mean respect. I mean being treated decently. I mean receiving gratitude from others and opportunities. You aren't entitled to any of that. And I think there's people out there that say, no, I'm a human being and I deserve respect. I get that you deserve respect, but you're not entitled to it.
Yeah.
You're not going to receive it 100% of the time. Now, what you need to be willing to do is walk away from those situations where you aren't. If you have a client or a customer who is disrespectful, you don't need to continue to engage in that relationship.
Yeah, you can fire your clients.
Your clients, your customers, your vendors, whoever, right? But that's the point is people think, well, no, I have, oh my gosh, there's a little baby at the window of the studio. Do you see her? Oh my gosh, that was so distracting.
Future Maverick.
Future Maverick, yeah. But I think that business owners think that, well, I've taken the risk and I've started a business and I deserve to make money. I deserve to have the customers.
Now
I deserve to be,
it.
I deserve to be shown gratitude for what I do. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. But the same is true for employees, right?
Yes.
And we talked about this at the top of the show. Just by virtue of showing up doesn't mean you're entitled to anything.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, I got to pay you minimum wage for the hours that you're working there, but minimum effort, you're going to get the minimum wage, right? Yep. Now, if you're willing to be patient and you're willing to invest and you're willing to do a fraction of the things that I've been willing to do to grow this business, then yes, we will share in the upside success of that, maybe disproportionately, but we will share in the upside success of that versus the people that say, no, I want it now.
It has to be earned.
I
think people have lost
you aren't entitled
sight of
to
that
anything until
word.
you earn it.
Yeah.
And that goes back to understanding what actually drives value and what actually creates value.
Yeah.
What is it that your customers actually want? What is it that make their lives better? For us, we think in a tax strategy business, our clients just want to save money on taxes. And yeah, that's a big part of what we do.
So much more.
Sometimes they just want a more responsive accountant. Sometimes they just want someone to explain the numbers to them because nobody's bothered to do it. Sometimes they just want people to make it clear to them why we're doing the things that we're doing. Regardless of whether or not it saves them money, they just want to have some more clarity and some more confidence.
They want peace of mind about
peace of mind.
I mean, really, that's
they want tax therapy.
Yeah, it is. It's tax therapy.
All right, that was number 11. Number 10. I'm going to fly through this one.
Yep.
Businesses prioritize and are intentional. So I'm sick of work-life balance. I'm sick of the thought because I think when most people hear that, they think it's 40 hours a week at work. It's 5 weeks of vacation. It's balance, and it's not. Like, to be a high performer, you have to be focused on being a high performer. If you want to be a high performer, you can't focus on balance. And I think that's where people get it wrong is they think, well, no, I should be able to have the thing that I want and also have balance. And that's not how it works.
Yeah. Nice thought.
It's a BS thought. That was the closest I've come.
Sarcastic.
That was the closest I've come. It's not even a nice thought. It's so misleading.
Yep.
But the point is, we make trade-offs every single day in our lives.
Yeah.
And we need to be intentional about what our priorities actually are and what those trade-offs will be. So I think people hear trade-off and they hear the word sacrifice. It's not sacrifice. Sacrifice means you're trading something greater for something lesser.
Yes.
I'm going to give you $1,000 and you're going to give me $20 in return. That is sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's not a good move. But if I'm making that trade-off because I understand that giving you $1,000 is going to make me feel better and I'm going to get more value out of that, that is being intentional and that's prioritizing.
Yeah.
So it's making clear of what's the lesser versus the greater, but also what's the short term versus the long term. I had a cookie and a candy bar yesterday driving back.
Okay.
Right. Short term, that was a great move. Long term, not really what was in my best.
Didn't feel great about it after.
Yeah. All right. I don't have enough time to wrap that one up. Last one. Fun and rest and recreation can make you more productive. It's not always about hustling and grinding. Sometimes you need that space to just recover and recreate and relax. Yeah, recreate, right? I'm sure there's a Latin root there that makes sense. But that's the point is I think too many of us think it's got to be work. Now, I know what I said earlier about balance.
Yeah.
This isn't balance. This is being intentional, and this is being prioritizing and saying right now at this moment, this is what I need for me.
Yep. Good one. We got through it.
I'm more energized now than I was at the start of the show. Great show, everybody. 14 tips on how to have a more successful business crammed into 1 hour. Have a great week. I believe in you.